Why do you want to do property now, Ian?
Again, I'll probably have a different answer now than I would have had 2 days ago.
Okay, it's great that your thinking has changed in just 2 days, right?
I think it has, yeah. And
it's so much better to have those limits and grow from them rather than just allow it to beat you.
Just about 8 years ago, we bought it for 80,000.
Yeah.
I know that seems ridiculous now for the property prices.
Yeah. And what's it worth now, Ian?
And now it's worth about 190,000.
Right. So in 8 years, it's more than doubled in value. What's the goal? What are you trying to achieve? And then you work backwards to break that down. We're going to do some coaching. And so we gave people the opportunity to come and get a coaching session. We had over, I think, a couple of hundred coaching sessions happen. We did those in the breaks and evenings and mornings so you don't miss any content. And we said to people, hey, we're going to randomly pick one or maybe two people if we have time to do some coaching. And I think we might just have time maybe for one person. Andy, who have we decided to pick?
Ian White.
Ian White. So let's see if we can do some coaching with you, Ian.
Hi. Hi, Simon.
Hello, Ian. Good morning. How are you?
How are you there? Yeah, good. Just a little surprised to get picked out, I think.
Well, you know what? As you've seen this morning, we like to surprise people.
You do, yeah.
So first of all, tell us how you're enjoying the event.
It's very, very much, yeah. It's engaging, interactive, informational. Absorbing, overwhelming, all those words you want to use.
I get that. And by the way, if thanks for sharing that. So if you're sitting there feeling overwhelmed or scared, that's okay. That's okay, because a lot of this is very new to people, and you know, sometimes you know what you want to do, but there's that fear there, and we talked a lot about fear with the coaches the other day. It can feel very real, and it's okay to feel fear. And sometimes stepping outside your comfort zone, you make a decision. And I know we've had some people commit to Mastermind today, said, I know I'm going to, but I'm scared out of my mind. And that's okay to be like that, because we'll look after you, we'll hold you. So, Ian, tell me a little bit about yourself. And obviously, when we do coaching, it's confidential. It's just you, me, and 700 other people are going to hear this. So thank you for agreeing. If there's anything I ask you that you don't want to say because we're doing it, that's absolutely fine. But I encourage you to kind of open up, and I'm really going to try and help you as much as I can in the short amount of time you have available. Is that okay?
Fantastic, yeah.
Brilliant.
No problems.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Looks like you run your own business?
Yeah, this is 16 years. I own a training company, which is ironic that I'm on this training session.
Put me under no pressure then. I'm a fellow trainer, but still, that's okay. And what does the training business do?
We deliver training into leadership and management.
Yep.
So we deliver into businesses. So I've got coaches that work for me.
Yep.
They go into businesses and coach business mentoring, that kind of thing.
Okay. And has that been affected by what's happened over the last year at all?
Yes, actually, I can be honest and sit here and say that rather than down, our business has tripled. It's gone up. It's not gone down.
I think it's interesting that when I'm not sure if you've been for the whole event, but I shared the expression that I picked up from one of my mastermind groups in America in February. I was reminded of when it says, when you're in the you got to remind that actually it's also fertilizer, right? And things happen for a reason, and we can learn and grow. And I think in difficult times, like many businesses have had, I think they realize, well, we can either just fall over here, or we can invest in ourselves, get the help we need to really move forward and get out of this much quicker than we would otherwise on our own, yeah?
100%. I think you've got positivity. You do it. You've got to be positive. You've got to be flexible, and you adapt. I mean, I've always felt you grow. You know, there's time. Yeah. The time when it's hard is when you grow.
Yes, absolutely.
You take that off. You know, so.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, so many people kind of, human nature, many people, they kind of shrink back and they kind of, go backwards when they have difficult times. And it's difficult, right? It's hard to push through. But my message to people will be that there's always light at the end of the tunnel. It's if you got to work for it sometimes, you've got to put time and effort in, but it's worth pushing, because it's so much better to have those limits and grow from them rather than just allow it to beat you. And so much happens in life that unfortunately people allow to beat them down. It's a real shame when I see that happen. But so you get all this. So this is going to be easy for me to coach you because I'm sure you're going to be very coachable. You know, if you do coaching, you've got to be open, you've got to be coachable, and I'm sure you are going to be, Ian. Okay, so you put on your form here, you're kind of a beginner in property.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about your property background, please.
Okay, yeah, we've got, I keep using the word we as in, I've got my other half, who's obviously in every partnership, as you pointed out, bring them in.
Absolutely,
and get them involved, stay involved. So we've got 3 properties. They're buy to let, but they're not, they very much fall into it. We didn't strategically plan, we didn't go out and create all the things you've been talking about. We just we thought that was a good idea. And I've also got my brother's also involved in this.
Yes.
Because if I could quickly say, very quickly if I can.
Yeah, go for it.
He's been moaning he's been on my back for 10 years, moaning about his job, moaning about his works in a warehouse, basically saying, and eventually I've said, why don't we go into property? Because we've done it once or twice and you've got some income. And this year, in COVID, he finished his job, he closed his job, and now he's coming into this. So
great.
That's a bit of a pressure.
Yeah.
But we're in this together,
which
is good. We've got a real purpose to do it.
Good.
And for him, it's replacing his income.
Yeah. So he's burnt his bridges now, right?
Yeah, he's gone. Yeah.
He's got to make, and sometimes that's the fuel we need under us, the fire under our feet, the fire in your belly to really get out there and make it happen.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Good. So you got, and you know what you said about you. Many people I speak to, they've kind of realized property is a good thing. Over the years, you've maybe made money in your business, you put that into property, which is a really smart thing to do. But I say you've had no plan, and it's probably worked out okay, but it's probably not given you anywhere near it should be giving, I guess.
Again, I keep saying 100%. I think the people you've had on here, you know, we would call them case studies. You know, the
absolutely,
business.
yeah.
So, you know, the case studies we've got on our website do similar things, but they're just inspirational. I mean, and it's great that people from I'm going to say backgrounds, because you know, we're not looking too deep into people, but they're all ordinary people who are now making money. So, you know, and I think I've been doing this a long time as a business, but it's great. It's great that I can now, even me at this age, I can go. And I love, you know, Johan talking about the age. I can get up in the morning, so Monday, and I can start. It's like, I wouldn't say starting again, but it feels like that.
Yeah.
It feels like, let's go again. I've got some experience, but now I've got some real inspiration stories, case studies, people to talk to, even in 2 days.
Yeah. Has that excited you? Has it fired you up?
Yeah, I massively. Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, it's what I get up. I don't know about you, but.
Yeah,
I get up, not for money particularly, although it's great to have that, but I get up because I think I can do it.
Yeah, great.
And we're going to do it.
Oh, good. We're going to have fun today, Ian. That's good. So, so you got a business. Business is booming at the moment. So you're making some good money by the sounds of it, which is great. So let me ask you this, Ian. And this is where I always want to start. And by the way, I'm coaching Ian here, who's graciously agreed for us to film this, and you know we'll probably put this out to the world on YouTube at some point, Ian, as well.
Thanks.
So I would start with everyone to say, okay, so what's your reason why, Ian? Why? Because you could say, oh, I'm really comfortable, I've got this great income. I know your brother maybe needs to earn some money now, but what's your reason? Is it to help your brother? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but why do you want to do property now, Ian? Or more property now? Or doing it properly now?
Okay, you asked for honesty, so I suppose honesty is, I think, you look, I mean, I've got a similar story to about my father, said you couldn't do it, working class background, all that stuff. All that, although I would have given you that answer if it wasn't for that talk earlier yesterday.
Yeah.
And so now I'd say that, I think it is about, actually to say that I can do it, to say that I think my motivation is to tell myself that I can do this.
Yeah. You'll know this. You'll know this, Ian, as a coach, but very often it's most people, all but myself included, we all have doubts sometimes, don't we? And we all say, well, it's all right for them, but I couldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we say they're okay because they've got this. I don't have the resources that they have. And actually, I think often it's people using, dare I say, excuses or reasons why they can't do it. Would you agree?
100%. The wall you referred to.
Yeah.
So that wall is comes in many sizes, and I'd say, Simon, that we have the same thing with leadership. People who say, I don't know it's a phrase, but born, people are born to lead. And we say you can be taught to lead. You can give them the knowledge. You can bring them to the wall. Then they need to climb over it. Yeah. And that's the same for me. And I run a business. I think we're at the wall. We're at that point. But the inspiration you need then, and the knowledge, and the people to get to that next stage.
Well, let's see if we can help you hop over that wall then, Ian. So, so I think I know why you want to do it. Your brother needs an income. Sounds like you want the challenge of doing it and the excitement of doing it as well. What you put it on here, but I'd like you to share. What do you want financially to get out of your properties?
Okay, I'm guarded again. I'll probably have a different answer now than I would have had 2 days ago.
Okay, it's great that your thinking has changed in just 2 days, right?
I think it has, yeah, and I think it's profits, it's financial freedom. But obviously, that means freedom to do what? What is it I want to do? You mentioned skiing. My passion's golf.
Yep.
And we want to buy. I want to get some property abroad. I want to go to. So I want the freedom to do what I want to do.
Yes.
And the profit that we generate is going to give us the freedom.
Right. Well, as a slight aside, if you love golf, there are some very motivated sellers all over Europe who've got properties on golf courses. You can pick up some absolute bargains if you know what you're doing. And if that's
we're gonna talk again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think and I think that actually, I think in terms of generating income, I don't think there's anywhere better to invest than in the UK. But if you want a property for lifestyle, which is kind of what you're talking about, why not get something overseas that you can use, family can use, and sometimes people even want to say, well, I'd like to eventually retire somewhere. But rather than waiting to retire, you can actually use what we're teaching about finding motivated sellers and creative financing to get a holiday home that could become a venture retirement home and use very little of your own money to do it. So all this stuff is very relevant, which is good. Okay, and then, so do you have an actual figure in mind? And you might have changed what you put on the form here, but what would you like to start generating from your property?
I think we're going to sit down on Monday, and we're going to fill out the forms. I say I'm going to sit with my brother and the partnership, and I think we're going to look at the first million and say, right, okay, how do we generate that first million from the turnover, which will then turn into how much money that will bring for us. Let's go for 100,000, and we're going to take 12 months to do it. Right. So I think that's a very simple target. Absolutely. Doable. How many properties do we need to do that? Yeah.
So you work out. So just to make sure everyone benefits from this, we work out what's the goal. What are you trying to achieve? And then you work backwards to break that down. So let's work with that. So let's say it's £100,000 a year you want to make after all the expenses and everything. Okay. Is that before tax?
Possibly, yeah. Although it's going to cost, depends.
Yeah, but let's say £100,000 before tax is a pretty good income still, right? Let's make it easier. Let's make it 96 because then that's 8k a month. Okay, I like easy maths, right? So let's say so we work out what we want to achieve per year. How much is that a goal? And I just sense check that. Does 8k a month before tax? Does that feel enough to cover your living expenses, to give you the lifestyle so you can nip over to your overseas holiday home for a month or two, play some golf? Is that kind of going to give you enough, do you think?
It'll do two. Yes is the answer. But if I can concentrate, I look at my brother. You've just quadrupled his income that he's been doing for 10 years.
Right. Okay.
And so he would see that as not possible. He would see that as
Exactly. And it's a really important point. I want everyone to listen very carefully. Sometimes when I say to people, how much do you want to make from property? The two magic figures I hear the most are 5K a month or 10K a month. Okay. And they sound like nice figures. And actually 10K a month is a very, very good lifestyle, unless you've got lots of kids and expensive school and stuff like that. But if it's you and reasonable expenses, that's a really good lifestyle. As in 5K a month is not a bad lifestyle, right? If we were to say to your brother, right, we're going to make 8K, because it's so much more than he's ever earned, he might really struggle with that. So my advice to you and my help with everyone is, first of all, first target should be, how do I replace what I'm currently earning? Or in his case, what he was earning. Because if he's already making £2,000 a month, that's far more within his comfort zone because he's done it before. He's just changing the way he's making that. Yeah?
Yeah.
And so you said your properties you've got before are just single lets. You've had them for a number of years. How much are those single lets generating in profit, Ian? At the moment?
Collectively, they're generating about 1,600.
Okay. And is that because you've had, so is that profit or rental?
That's rental.
Okay. So what's the profit after paying mortgages and all those kind of things?
So each property, I think I'm trying to average this out. So we actually get in the bank every month. That's what you mean?
Oh, right,
so
yeah.
we're bringing in every month. So you call that profit. So again, I'm trying to learn the terminology.
Yes, yeah.
So what we call that comes into the bank every month. We're looking at about, I think it's about 1,400.
Okay. Right. So after expenses. So can I just clarify something here? And again, this is in front of us. So if it's personal detail you don't want to share, that's absolutely fine. But those three properties, how much are they worth, do you reckon, on average?
About 170,000.
Each, is that?
Each, yeah.
Each, okay. And do you have mortgages on those or not?
Yep.
You do, okay. And is there much equity in those? So the difference between the mortgage and the value of the property?
Yeah, there's not a vast amount. A couple of them we've remortgaged. Probably got a mortgage broker within the family circle, which helped a lot because he gave us some good advice about. And we've taken out. I mean, I haven't got the figures in front of me, but over the last probably 6 or 7 years, we've taken out quite a fair amount of money. We've been on golf holidays, so I haven't got the totals here. But you mean
you've been on business trips?
So that's what I mean, yeah.
Business trips looking for other properties to buy. Yeah, be very careful, Ian, because this is going out online. But yes, I know exactly what you mean. So, so that's the great thing. So you bought property, they've gone up over time, you've refinanced, you've had the benefit of some of that growth by enjoying some of that money, which is great.
Yeah.
So do you have much capital to move forward with?
Yeah, not well. It depends what you mean by much, but I suppose we've done some juggling the money. We've probably got 100,000 between us. Okay,
so that's a good start, right? Some people have more, some people have a lot less, some people have no money, and they have to use the creative strategies. But you could do some good work there. And what kind of area are you investing in? Where are you geographically based?
We're open to any area, but I'm a Brummie. So we know, I know the West Midlands as well as I know, and we've got, I've met the training company, I've got to know lots of other people. So the West Midlands is an area that we know well. Birmingham, we know well.
Yeah, okay. And it's always good to start where you know, either where you live or you work or you've lived in the past because you've got connections. It's always right to do that. And very often people say, oh, I'm not sure it works in my area. They think they have to go further afield, and actually it probably does work as long as they know how to do it. So if you were getting HMOs, for example, instead of single lets, if you were stepping up, getting that knowledge and to the next level, a good 6-bed HMO should really be making a minimum of £1,000 profit per month. So therefore, just 2 properties could easily replace your brother's income. And in fact, if you have bigger HMOs, and not necessarily your first one would be a bigger one, but many of our students have slightly bigger ones and they're making £2,000, £3,000, even £4,000 a month from just one property. That's a much bigger one, obviously. But I think that would be a better place for you to start aiming for that 2,000 to help your brother replace his income first. And once he's out and he's you're almost given him that life raft to be in. and then he can then help you with you know, getting the rest of the property on the rest of the journey for you. Does that make sense?
I can now confidently say the word strategy. We've come to the same conclusion. He's not listening to this, but he'll be aware that I'm doing it. So I think that's the strategy we come up with. What I'm balancing in my head right now, and I have been for the weekend, is all the things about we can't do this on our own. Who do we need to support it? Do we become investors, or do we become actual property developers?
Yeah.
And those are questions that now I can begin to have a little clarity with.
Should we just dig around some of those to help give you that clarity in this time? We've not got a huge amount of time, but if I can give you more clarity to help you move forward quicker, that's what coaching's all about, right? So as you mentioned earlier, you're getting used to some of the terminology that we've used this weekend, and different people have different interpretations. So you could be an investor in two different ways. You could just lend your money to other people and get a return on that, whether it's through crowd property or private individuals, etc. You could do that. Or you could be an investor, how I see myself as an investor. I put money into property, but I don't want to be a landlord. I don't manage the property myself, because if I manage all my property, that would take my full time, and I really don't want to do that. I want to do what I love, right? So I see myself as an investor, but not necessarily as a full-time landlord. And so there are two different types, and I suggest possibly, because you have some funds and you've got some knowledge and you understand the value of building your knowledge, actually buying a property where you are the investor, putting your money in, you not only get the cash flow, but you get the equity growth as well. And there's nothing wrong with just lending money and getting a great return on your money, but the downside with that is you're not getting a long-term growth. The three properties you own, Ian, how long have you owned those?
Over the last 5-6 years.
Okay.
Probably longer than 8 years, more like 8 years.
And so you say you've remortgaged, have you seen some good growth in those over the time?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example of one. And it's funny enough, the first one we ever did was a family one. I know you're going to put this out, but I've got other brothers. And the brother I'm talking about is the one that I've got 4 brothers, so there's in fact 5 altogether. But my parents passed away. I'm trying to speed this up for you, and the property became available. And this is the first one 8 years ago, and that became available. And I turned to, this is my other half's idea, not mine at the time. But she said, "Well, what do you think about buying it?" So that was the first time we did it. And I went to my younger brother. He's my younger brother, by the way. And I said, "What do you think?" And then we got the older brothers involved. So the other 3, and they just wanted the money out. So we knew nothing about property. We sat in a room and went. So that's when we started this bug of my brother suddenly realised, hang on a minute, somebody's going to pay me something I don't have to work for, and I'm going to get some money, and it goes in the bank, and I think he went from a working a kind of socialist to a capitalist within kind of 48 hours, and I think that's it's an interesting development, and I think ever since then you still have to take a risk. And it's not
there
just
are
about
risks. Absolutely, yeah.
You've got to do that, and I think it's not straightforward as going wake up the next day and pack up your job and get on with it. It takes time. Yeah. But that kind of started it.
So this inherited property, your elder brothers just wanted the cash out, and you thought actually maybe. So did you kind of effectively remortgage it to buy them out? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, we got the sister involved, remortgaged it, gave them all the. I mean, what we bought it for. This was about 8 years ago. We bought it for 80,000.
Yeah.
I know that seems ridiculous now for the property prices.
Yeah. And what's it worth now, Ian?
And now it's worth about 190,000.
Right. So in 8 years, it's more than doubled in value.
More than doubled, yeah.
I'm curious. What do your other older 3 brothers do?
I know where you're going here.
Yeah, exactly.
They're fine. Look, I think. Look, when you're working with families, and I'm sure I'm not sure. I know this is going out repeating, but they won't mind. Look, I think that we pitched this. I made sure my younger brother pitched this to them, not me, because they see me as a bit of a risk taker, entrepreneur type. So I made my younger brother pitch it, but they're absolutely fine. We play golf together. We do things together. They're happy that we're benefiting. You know, I don't know what they say behind closed doors. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they look at it and go, you know, wow, you know, it's tripled. So yeah, I'm not sure what else to say really.
Well, all I was going to say was, you know, we all make decisions based on the information we have at the time, right? And the knowledge we have at the time and the beliefs we have at that time, and we don't know what we don't know. And most people, they have this conditioning that debt is bad and you should pay off your own home. And the vast majority of the population in the UK, we're aspirational. We want to own our own home if we can, but we don't want to owe money on it. We want to buy it, probably with a mortgage, maybe a bit of help from mum and dad, and then we want to pay it down, pay it off by the time we retire. And that's, if people end up with a house paid off at the end of time, most people are quite happy and content, and they feel quite successful because they've done it. And that's a great thing to do. But as investors, we realize if you've got a property with all that equity tied up, maybe that's actually a bit of a shame because you can't access that money. You can't do anything with it. And when you retire, you know, when you have no significant income coming in, mortgage companies say, well, how are you going to pay a mortgage? That's why they want it paid off by the time you retire. But if you can get to the point before you retire and release some of that, when you've got an income coming in, release some of the equity and buy a number of investment properties, and then Ian, as those investment properties go up, you can refinance those as you have already done and take the money to clear your own home. That's a smarter strategy. You still end up with your own home completely paid off, but you've got a number of investment properties which continue to go up in value over the long term, which continue to give you cash flow, and you're going to be in a much better position when you want to retire and when you want to go on those golfing holidays. You've got more income to do it because you've got this income coming in from properties without you having to work, as your brother's quite rightly worked out, without having to trade your time for money. And so, a great thing if you have family, and family, you know, we love family, but sometimes it's hard to talk to family because they sometimes think they know better than you, and also they love you, they want to protect you, they don't want you to make expensive mistakes. And so sometimes people around you can actually talk you out of things and stop you because they love you, because they're trying to protect you, but sometimes they can hold you back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, I think you just summed it all up. I don't think they do it on purpose.
No.
People, you know, you've got
they do it because they ultimately they love you and they want to protect you. Even if, you know, we all have arguments in our families sometimes, you know, but we love each other, right? We want to care for each other. We're bloods, and I think sometimes we have to take them on a journey. And one thing I would suggest to you, Ian, is you and your brother might have some money, but as you start to get some results, I would encourage you to extend the olive branch to your other older brothers and say, hey, look, would you like to get involved as well? Because you know what? They might have some funds, and sometimes we assume, oh, I've spoken to them, they don't want to do it. Well, people change over time. And I think they might not want to own property other than their own home, but guess what? They might have money in the bank that's doing nothing for them right now, and just the question of, well, you know, me and the other brother, we're doing some more property. Who do you know who might want to get a great return on their money? And actually, you might be able to help them, and they might just be an investor for you if they don't want to actually joint venture. Worth thinking about.
It's more than thinking about. We've already had that situation. I've already had a couple of my brothers, or one particular one, who's come into some money. So he's now thinking, you know, that he wants to come and join us and on this journey. And we don't know yet. I think that's the other question for me. I have the business. I've got no business partners. I own the business outright. I've had business partners, and the challenge for business partners and all that is it's your journey, and it's sharing that journey. I think an investor's different to a partner.
Absolutely,
completely.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you know, you can choose your investors. You can't choose your family. So you have to balance that kind of. Who do you want to go on this with? The fun we want to have.
And actually, sometimes your family aren't the best people to do that because you're too close, or you're not close enough, and you've got, you know, history and background, etc. So sometimes family are not the best people, but I would suggest people to just consider it. And here's a tip for you, Ian, and for everyone else listening to this. You can work with other people, doesn't mean you need to buy property together. And let me explain one of the many ways of doing that. So you could joint venture, and you and your brother might work together, and you might say, okay, well, let's work together and let's get one property for my brother kind of in his name or in his company, and then you do one for you and yours. So you're working together, you're pooling resources, time, money, experience, etc., but you're still building separate portfolios even though you're helping each other. Does that make sense? And that's a smart way of doing it. Sometimes people do have family businesses that they're all shareholders in, and everything goes in the pot and it's shared out. And that's okay. But my advice to anyone watching this is, even though they're family, please still have an agreement, a joint venture agreement. And it could be just a couple of pieces of paper, just setting out who's doing what, because sometimes people, they might joint venture with their best friend. Oh, I know this person for years and years, and we trust each other, we like it, let's work together. And they might be a great person to work with, they might not be, because life happens, changes happen, circumstances change, and what you don't want is where you fall out and you agree something and you have a different interpretation of what was agreed. I mean, that happens to all people. I'd ask anyone who's in a relationship, have you had an agreement with your partner? You've agreed something, you've come away, you're both completely clear what's being agreed, and only months down the line you find you have a slightly different interpretation of what was agreed. I'm sure that's happened to you, Ian, I'm sure it happened to me and everyone, right? So get an agreement, have it in writing, just simplify who's doing what and what's the plan, even when it's a very good friend or family member, just to protect yourself. I think it's really, really important.
Yeah.
So we've kind of run out of time, Ian. And I just want to thank you for being so open and sharing. And I'm sure some of the things we've talked about, other people can relate to, and hopefully they've got some really good golden nuggets from this. And I just hope that if you've loved this event and you've loved the inspiration, maybe we can help you further on the journey, and we should talk about that at some other point. Yeah?
Well, definitely, yeah, big thank you. And, you know, the accelerator, the mastermind, I think there's some brilliant people out there that I'd love to contact. So big thanks for doing this, and you know, and good luck to everybody. Good luck to everybody else. Right. You know, so work hard. Good stuff.
Thank you, Ian. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for opening up. And let's give a round of applause for Ian, please. Let's hear for Ian. Thank you so much, and all the best, Ian. We'll speak soon, I'm sure. I do hope you got massive value from watching this YouTube video. I'd encourage you to click on the link below, and I've got another video lined up for you, which I think is also going to be really useful that you should watch. So invest with knowledge, invest with skill. I'll see you very soon.